World
Camera's
War
up.
esque.
Mic's up.
Can you do me a flavor?
The corner's gonna be in here.
You know what?
Ah.
Can you fucking not?
Wow, that hurt.
I feel so professional being.
Matt,
It's nice, isn't it?
can you like
Gonna be
put
so
this in your fridge?
Fuck off.
Okay.
Thank
We
you.
also have Lucas.
Can you fuck off?
That's in the middle. Thank you.
All right, Matt. Oh, that's hot. I did a few ass shots.
Am I in the shot?
The D&D stream.
Yeah, the sides are in.
Yeah, I think you should.
Hello, Internet!
That's what we're called. The side.
We are Milky Way News.
Oh, are we starting?
Yeah, sure, why not? Today we have a little something different for you. We are asking the question, what if Germany didn't lose the First World War?
Whoa.
Thank you.
And then right now
Bobby.
I'm gonna insert like the Sunny or the Philadelphia song, little subtitle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Today's Germany alternative history video is officially sponsored by.
France. They're best friend.
Netherlands?
They're really good at winning wars, so that's
Wait a
why
minute.
they're a sponsor.
For the most part.
I'm
Because they're
French.
Germany's best.
Hi, French.
Germany's best
I'm
friend?
Lucas.
I'm sorry, we didn't invite you.
Thank
Puis j'allais à toilette.
It does seem fitting that
Manger,
talking about
manger.
Germany in war and France is our sponsor.
Well, yeah.
And our official beer sponsor is Big Woods Brewery. Jack Savage, is that the flavor? Danny?
It's like
I don't
yeah,
know. I get it.
it's yeah.
It's brewed in White Bear Lake, Minnesota.
It's an American.
There are no white bears here.
Hey, White Bear
American
Lake.
Pale Ale.
We only like blacks.
White Bear Lake is near Woodbury.
5.3 alcohol. Yes. Not bad.
I like this, like a Paul Bunyan aesthetic.
I know.
We're not doing
I don't
this.
like beer. I don't like alcohol in the first place. So.
I'll have two of them.
I'll take a sip of someone's.
Ready?
I don't even open it yet.
Oh, this is so much better than the Lethbridge.
Do you want to be a lumberjack?
Yeah.
Can you guys learn how to open a beer?
No.
You learn.
Okay.
To Germany.
Thank you, Big
winning the
Wood.
First World War.
We do not have Big Wood.
For
I mean,
Kaiser Wilhelm II.
I don't have small wood.
we can change that.
I do not like this.
Okay, I like that. That's good. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I feel like
You're
a
welcome.
lumberjack now.
And the point of buying new beers every time
Try
is
it.
to try new beers.
I thought we were going to try old ones.
You can have mine.
This is
Lucas wants it.
That's my favorite logo too.
I don't want
It's a fun one.
I feel like I could wear this and be warm.
I've been to a bar where they have
Try
that
it.
on
This
there, and
is-
I thought
I
it
already
was
tried it.
No, they have
Here's
that
my natural face
at
retraction.
Maddie's
Yeah.
Lanes.
Really?
Yeah, they have cups with Big Wood on it.
Like, legitimately, that's how I feel about drinking beer. And most alcohol.
You look like you smelled the bad fart.
Hey, Lucas is back with us today.
Yeah.
This is Lucas.
He
I was,
gets the
I was here 2
smoker.
weeks ago.
Just set it down. Here, just put it in the front.
Oh, yeah. CC.
Sponsor.
Yeah.
Sponsor. Okay.
Unofficial sponsor.
Now,
Thanks a lot, Big Wood. You won't let us down.
That was my nickname in high school.
No,
so we won't let you
Thanks a
down.
lot. What?
You were the
That's not my name, but thanks
smallest
a lot.
of wood.
you were Stick.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Big stick.
No, just stick.
Anywho,
flashback 100 years ago to the 19 teens.
That was about
The
100 years
19
ago.
teams to the 19 teams to the 19 teams to the 19 teams.
Holy shit, in 2 years, it's going to be 100 years since the First World War. Well,
Hey.
ended. Wow.
Gerardo, what happened
if
November
I was
11th?
100, I would have been born.
11/11, 1918.
Actually, wow, holy shit.
The armistice.
Yes. That's it. That's our podcast.
Thanks.
This happened.
Okay. So, I don't know, how do we start with this? We said,
Imagine war.
In a world.
but a first war. First war.
Imagine the world where there's constantly war everywhere. It's hard to imagine, but just try.
Okay, World War I started off hot for the Germans. The Schlieffen plan was kicking ass. The goal basically... Schlieffen.
Schliffen.
The goal was to destroy
Swiffer.
France first in the West so they could focus on Russia after.
Swiffer.
Now, all of the 19th century after World War I was essentially molded and crafted by the Treaty of Versailles, from Germany's rise to power and the need to rise to power to, in some sense, a lot of the Cold War stuff that preceded. Everything would have been different, not only if Germany had won World War I, but if they hadn't lost it. If they had came to a truce with England and they just brokered a peace. Something peaceful. Oh, he's so stupid.
Who that guy?
Who are you? We didn't order pizza.
We forgot our cash.
No. Alright, fair enough. Would you guys say... Sorry, Colin.
What would you say is your favorite part of Russia?
Hold up. Would you say
The
it's
cold
fair,
part.
Would you say it's fair to say
Yeah.
the 19th century would have been completely different if a peace was brokered and Germany didn't even have to win the war?
Crawl. Get
Crawl
on your
underneath
knees.
it.
Oh, wait.
An hour?
You're gonna wait
started.
45 minutes.
All right.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Not far.
Now,
I feel like there are like parallel universes are a real thing, and there are certain parts of history that have led to different ones, and this is one of the main one, probably. Also Trump's election, but you know.
It is what it is.
Shit
So,
happens.
Hunter, how would you say Germany would have won?
no. Okay. So
Well,
if
as we know,
yes.
what happened was
What had happened was
Someone Google.
Germany crossed, and instead of going through the Ardennes into France, they trespassed through Belgium in order to get to France, then which violated their neutrality. Then Great Britain got pissed, so then they helped France, and then that caused a stalemate, and that was a trench warfare for what, 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
Without advancing much ground.
They would literally spend 11 months and gain less than from home base to first base.
And all of the line took place in France or parts of the Netherlands.
Most of it was
too?
Belgium and France.
and France.
Yeah.
That's all you.
Now, yeah, World War I was... What do you think? Is that good?
It was said to be the war to end all wars, but I think it was the war to start all wars.
Which?
Yeah, they were not home by Christmas.
Yeah, no.
But they did have Christmas.
Now, okay, so let's start with that. Sure, that's a good idea. So let's break it into two parts.
Again, nah.
Let's go into how does Germany not lose the war, and then from there we'll go to what does the post-war climate look like.
Okay.
All right, well,
So let's identify Germany's key mistakes or the Allies' key advantages that Germany should have countered.
Is this still going to lead to the
Germany's-
discussion of whether or not World War II happened?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just
Post-war.
making sure.
Holocaust didn't
Germany's
happen, though.
big
Oh, yeah,
mistake
never happened.
was to underestimate Russia's willingness to go to war. Pretty much. Because, well, we didn't really explain how World War I started. Because
Ferdinand.
it was because of
The treaty system.
Nationalism.
the treaty system. Russia and
alliance.
France were allies. Germany was pretty much funding a war between Austria and Serbia was an ally of Russia.
Yeah, and the whole blank check
The whole
bullshit.
blank check thing. Russia get pissed. Germany underestimated their willingness to go to war. They actually went to war, which is why France went to war.
Which
because
German
they were
was in
allies.
charge of that? Who was the Kaiser? Was that
Wilhelm II.
Okay.
And Nicholas, right?
Wilhelm
Russia.
II,
Saint Nicholas?
Nicholas II of Russia, and King George of England. They were all cousins. They were
yeah.
They were all
Dukes.
grandkids of Queen Victoria.
Was there a lot of incest going on?
Probably.
No, Queen Victoria married her family to a bunch of the big.
That was how you make relations with countries.
Yes, all the big monarchies still left in Europe. So like Russia, Queen. I forgot who was it. Elizabeth.
Anastasia?
Princess Catherine married Tsar Nicholas.
Was she the one that fucked the horse?
I don't know.
That was me.
Tsar Nicholas the First,
Game of Thrones.
and a bunch of others got married into the
Okay.
other royal families.
Yes.
Mentally,
keep it going.
no. Physically,
So basically, Europe is divided between Central Powers and the Allies
Yep.
because of all of that.
Well, the Triple Entente.
Yes. Which grows.
So that I believe Germany's key mistake was to underestimate Russia's ability or willingness to go to war. Germany had called Russia's bluff before, and they didn't go to war. And Kaiser was pretty convinced that Russia didn't have the mobility, they did have the manpower, but they didn't have the infrastructure or the munition to support a war against Germany.
And that's a good point. So Germany's first mistake was before the war even started.
Yeah, which Russia didn't really have.
No, but they moved really quick.
But
what happened?
Because Russia declared war on Germany, then France declared war on Germany because they were both allied.
I was going to say something.
So they put it in case the Schlieffen Plan, which pretty much said that they would have the war over by Christmas.
So let's address that. So how does Germany go to war to achieve their aims without underestimating Russia?
Well, they don't. They play a defensive war against Russia. They don't go in the offensive. They just
make Russia look like the aggressor, and they can play the victim card.
They just form their defenses on the border. They don't invade Russia. Let Russia go. They just have to wait out Russia because Russia eventually falls into a revolution.
Wasn't it really important for them to? If they did a defensive, though, it's really important that they attack the West and France, though.
Mm-hmm. So they save all those troops that are invading Russia, and then they take all those troops to France.
So
sorry, go ahead.
Well, what if they attacked Russia and just held the line in France because they wouldn't have had Britain and France wouldn't have. Would they have tried to cut through the other?
If they attack both sides, and you have other powers coming in.
But if they didn't attack France,
they didn't.
Russia
You're
instead.
underestimating the other thing is Germany's big rival
is
France. They are the ones that they want,
which is why
kick
they are
their
a
ass
sponsor
for the second time.
Yes.
Now, what was France's climate when the war was starting? Was France ready to go on the offensive right away if not provoked?
No.
So they could have. So if Germany had played the defensive card on the West, that would have paid off for Germany.
No. Defensive on the defensive on the East and then the offensive on the West. The other thing is,
wasn't that the Schlieffen Plan? That's what they did.
No, that's what they did. They went on the
taking over France.
The Schlieffen Plan was to take over France.
So that they can't do anything and then just fight Russia.
The Schlieffen Plan was fighting an offensive war on two fronts.
Okay,
am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So instead of fighting an offensive war on the eastern front and fighting a defensive war on the western front. Then the other mistake was they wanted to have it done quick. So that's why they decided instead of going through the Ardennes, which is more hilly and more foresty, they decided to go through Belgium, which pissed off Britain. And then Britain sent reinforcements to Belgium and to France,
which they
slowed down.
Obviously did not know that Britain would intervene.
Yeah, and because Britain did, eventually the U.S. did. I believe that.
Yeah.
So I was so
they
far.
They would have had two less countries to deal with if they would have fought on the east instead of the west.
Huge mistake going through Belgium. Yeah. And if that's possible, if they had not gone through Belgium and defeated France, they could have ended up with the truce where Germany made gains but didn't lose or win the war.
Germany would have gained like a couple of provinces off of France and then just called it done.
Yeah. And you might not have a second World War.
Yeah. Well, the whole status quo stays. Germany proves that they have a strong leader in Kaiser Wilhelm. Revolution still happens in Russia because they couldn't fight a war against Germany, so communism still rises. Whether Stalin rises to power, I don't know if that's true. I don't know how
I think the country still would have fallen apart.
Yeah, I still believe Russia's.
They were just behind their time.
It still falls into communism.
Yeah.
But Austria-Hungary still remains a country. Maybe they divide a little bit, but probably the Kingdom of Austria still exists, and the Kingdom of Hungary still exists.
Ottoman
The
Empire
Ottoman Empire still exists.
And I guarantee if the Ottoman Empire is still around, you don't have a lot of the Soviet satellite states coming to fruition.
The Ottoman Empire still exists, we would not have this mess in the Middle East right now.
Yeah, or the crisis in the Eastern Europe, it wouldn't exist.
It would not exist.
So what you're saying is we should have lost World War II.
Not even lose, just come to a...
Just let Germany win.
Would all of those different cultures and ethnicities still have wanted to gain their independence, and it would have been a whole different thing?
Well, they would have still...
Not as quickly, I believe, but they'd still want it.
But the thing was that so in order to fight the Ottoman Empire, what British did... What?
That was a good question by Danny.
What was the question?
Are you answering it right now?
I was answering what I thought was the question.
Would the ethnicities still want all of their own states?
Yeah, they would, but but the way that they get it is different from how they got it right now.
Yeah.
Because France and Britain did a whole mess in there when they signed the Sykes-Picot Agreement.
Yeah.
So could have happened realistically, have a pan-Arab state had France not wanted to be all aggressive on the Versailles talks. And
was it just France though? It wasn't just.
It was because Britain promised the Arabs independence from the Ottoman Empire.
Everyone did. The U.S. did. Italy did.
But Japan
did.
But France wanted that Syria and Lebanon part. Right?
Yeah, the mandate system.
Yeah. So there was France's whole deal that caused Britain to get their mandates too.
Oh Jesus! All of this would have changed the Israeli Palestinian situation.
There would be no Israel.
Everything
had there would be the Palestinian.
That was the
Palestinian nation.
Israel, right?
The refugee? What?
Like for
Judaism.
Oh, that was the first. That was the first massive migrant crisis.
Yeah.
Everyone from Europe going to Israel.
I'm gonna sound like Alex Jones right now, but it was the Rothschilds who were Zionist Jews back in that time.
Is that a direct quote?
I'm
pretty sure you found
pretty sure it's a direct quote from Alex Jones. No, but the Rothschilds were Zionist Jews that wanted a Zion, so a Jewish state.
Oh, you're the flush.
He just won't flush.
Why did you just stand up in the middle of the podcast?
But
you can continue. I'll listen
what
for
were you
him.
saying?
It was the Rothschilds that wanted to create a Jewish state within the Palestinian mandate in the Middle East.
Okay.
So that whole area was Arab, like Lebanon, Syria, Mesopotamia, once it's now Iraq, and Arabia, Saudi Arabia,
Jordan.
and Egypt, Jordan. Well, it was called Transjordan, but Jordan.
Transjordan?
Jordan's a trans?
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I mean,
The thing was that those states would have gotten their independence based on religious. I don't want to say cult branches.
So how would the Balkans have looked differently?
Balkans would still be kind of a mess because they would still be under the rule of the Austrian Empire and the Hungarian Empire, and
so Balkans wouldn't have changed much.
no,
It wouldn't have been explosive in the 30s.
It wouldn't have been. Yeah. That whole Balkans wars that we had in the 90s would have happened in the 30s and 40s. So you would have your
But the Ottoman
Serbian,
Empire,
well, because that part wasn't in the Ottoman Empire. That part was in Hungary and Austria. So you would have like Serbian independence. You would have a Croat independence. You would have
What game?
I feel like
Macedonian independence.
okay, but of all of this though, with all of those border states on, I forgot what sea that is, but that's right across the sea from Italy. I feel like Italy.
Well, Italy always wanted Croatia.
Yeah, so Italy will be the big power in this. Like they might become the aggressor.
Italy and Austria would have become the two big powers in the Balkans area. In Hungary.
Yeah. And what part did they play in the war?
Let's see.
We could talk about that now.
Adriatic Sea.
Yeah, the Adriatic Sea.
Started with an A. I knew
Because
that.
Italy always wanted to control the Adriatic. That's why they wanted Croatia so bad.
Yeah.
In Albania, you have an Albanian independence, Slovenian independence.
God, instead of Elleslas the Rain, this would have been like that, but times 30.
Oh, yeah.
Kosovo would have exploded long before it did in the 90s. Then
Yeah.
I think that would have been the first real
the
test of
other
League of
thing-
Nations.
The other
Kosovo.
thing would be is that all those nationalities would have stayed much more self-determined, because during the Paris Agreement they created Yugoslavia, which was a state for all the Slavs. And that caused all those Slavic peoples to move around, and like then you had a big group of Serbians living in Hungary, and then you had another big chunk of like different races, like cultures got put into different places where they weren't really meant to be.
Yeah.
That's what made the whole Balkan situation much bigger,
they were all
then you
mixed
had
in.
pockets of different populations within other populations.
Yeah. Now I believe working on a map, all of these will be more self-independent. But in this case, if Germany had won, their power is easily stretching down to the Austro-Hungarian southern border. And in that
for
case,
sure.
why would their influence not be trying to hinder the self-determination of these?
Because they don't have much to gain from well, they kind of do.
I think it's possible. It
don't
wouldn't
know
have been
if they do, though.
It wouldn't have been a Second World War, but it's possible this could have been a regional conflict with Germany.
Another European war could have happened.
If there was, no matter what outcome, there would still have been a conflict.
Yeah,
there.
and there's no reason. I mean, you could say if there's no reason Japan will be involved in this, and possibly not
would be
Russia.
huge in this still, Black Sea.
I guess because they want access to that. I guess it depends how powerful that is, or at that point how Ukraine's doing.
But the thing is that without the end of the war and without Wilson coming in with self-determination,
14 points.
would that nationalistic sentiment would still exist, and would people still would not care to be part of an empire that it does not represent them?
It's true.
I just feel like they're crushed between the German Empire and the Ottoman Empire still around then. Yeah. They're definitely seeking this independence. But what did these countries do?
Would that self-deterministic nationalist
It's the
movement would
ideas
exist?
that push it, because they tried to allocate people with certain ethnicities together, and so it drove these ethnicities to say, hey, you're like me, and then this whole explosion of different states to blow up. Yeah.
And I feel like though they're crushed by. So when this happens, where do the outside powers outside of Europe? Where do they fall along this?
Like Japan and the United States?
Well, everyone in the League of Nations. Well, not the U.S.
Well, the League of Nations doesn't exist.
There's no Treaty of Versailles.
There's no Treaty of Versailles.
Oh,
League of Nations don't exist.
Yeah. So there's no governing body to control this area.
Which would be something that would be behind that.
Yeah.
The idea of the United Nations or League of Nations or anything like that.
So you have
come out of that.
The massive empires of Russia in the northeast, Ottoman Empire southeast, Germany, basically all of the west, and then a stagnant UK who's probably building up but hasn't done anything, but their navy would probably be the strongest at this point.
Yeah.
Just all these powers just waiting for someone to do something.
I mean, it still would have happened.
It would have happened.
It
much
was
earlier.
bound to happen,
It probably
but
would have happened like 30s,
The way
40s,
it happened is
50s.
what's
Where would your alignment of Axis and Allies lie? Which countries change sides? Where do you guys think about that?
if it would have taken longer.
Yeah, so if this ends up being World War II,
Well, it would still remain. Probably Russia remains. Well, the other big thing is Russia, because if Russia follows the same path that it did,
they still have Russian
they
Revolution.
still have a Russian Revolution. Stalin dies. Stalin assassinates Trotsky. Stalin becomes the leader of Russia.
He fell on the ice
Union.
pick.
He would try. He would try to turn all those Balkan Slavic states into communist
The
states.
satellites again.
And they still would have gone to war with Germany and Austria because it's fighting over that.
So then you would most likely have a war between the Western powers, so Germany, Great Britain, Italy, maybe France, against the Slavic powers like Romania, Hungary, and the Soviet Union.
So it's it's the Cold War, but a hot war then.
It would be, yeah.
And then would you not still have a third
But
World
there
War?
would be no nuclear weapons because
Yeah.
there's no crazy Nazis trying to create mega weapons. Then there isn't Albert Einstein coming over to the United States, help create the Manhattan Project. America doesn't have nuclear weapons. Maybe there is a thing like where people are starting to think about them, but no superpowers.
But that's a whole different branch coming of the Nazis from the fall of Germany.
Hold on, Lucas, what were you going to
So
say?
that is this the way you guys are implying this again? I think you said something about this earlier, but then other regions of the world aren't really getting involved. This is just another European war because you never said anything about Japan getting involved, which means the United States probably just get involved.
That's the other thing that we're ignoring is Japan.
So Japan and Russia still have their 1903-05
The
war.
Russo-Japanese War.
Yeah, you still have Japan seeking their naval.
Manchuria.
Yeah, so they have the Manchukuo incident. They have the whole city-state building up. They have their whole thing with China.
Nanjing, yeah.
So essentially,
It would have stayed in the east.
well, I honestly believe this is an Eastern conflict,
Yeah.
but Japan's influence spreads dramatically.
Well, the other thing that keeps the United States from Japan is, so France probably still falls, or during
Yes.
World War One.
I'll concede
so
that.
then France is depending on how much weakened is France. Japan could still or take over Indochina or not take over Indochina. Because remember that when Japan took over Indochina, that's when the United States decided to stop all imports to Japan. Mm-hmm. And that's what caused Japan to attack
States.
Yeah, they
the
knew their
United
oil.
States. They said that they did the whole ultimatum thing. That's what made Japan decide to attack the United States.
Now, okay, because I want to kind of say this region real quick. So with UK not getting involved in World War I in our scenario, how does India play out? Do they still seek their colonies in imperialistic ways in India, or does India have a chance to become its own nation and become a big power in the region to rival Japan?
I don't think India would have a chance to do that because India didn't get their independence until the 50s from
50s.
Great Britain.
Yeah, 54.
If Great Britain doesn't get involved in the war and they don't get weakened by World War I and World War II, I think Great Britain still remains a big colonial power.
Not Cambodia.
Sorry, Pol Pot. And then, yeah, so did you guys finish up the whole mandate thing when I was gone? So where does America fall with the mandate? So we had promised, we had got involved in the mandate system before we got into the war. So what happens with all of that?
What do you mean in the Middle East?
Yeah, the Middle East. So
we were talking about it when you went to the bathroom. Then independence. So you would have an Arab independence from the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East. Then you would have a pan-Arab state consisting of Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. What's the other one that's fighting with Israel?
Egypt was for a long time.
Egypt, Iran, they would, and the Saudis would make a pan-Arab state. Then you would have independences based on whether you're Sunnis or Shias.
Yes.
So maybe you would have
Oh, genocide all over.
no. Well,
Probably.
you would have you have different states depending. The map would look completely different. You would still have probably a pan-Arab League, and then you would have a little bit different borders, like mainly in Syria and Lebanon.
Do you think Ottoman Empire's where's Ottoman Empire's influence affect this?
Well, the Ottoman Empire it was weakened before the war.
Yeah, but in this scenario,
In this scenario, I believe they're still pretty weak, and they still which is why that this revolution and independence still happens. I believe that this Arab revolution is what is the final blow to the Ottoman Empire. Maybe Ataturk still rises and then turns the Ottoman Empire into Turkey, because at this
he did a
point,
good job actually.
at this point, Turkey, the Ottoman Empire is pretty much Turkey. After the Arab independence,
You have the
Ottoman-
nationalization of everything in Turkey.
Yeah.
It's still going to happen.
yeah, it's still going to happen. It might still be called Ottoman, like the Ottoman state. It would not be called Turkey.
No,
it was
yeah.
Ottoman Turkey. But
You'll probably still get, I mean, you'll get all the banks nationalized. Military's going to control everything. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
No, okay. So far it seems like the main idea of World War II is kind of still playing out, but in different areas.
yeah,
Now, what we haven't addressed, we can still come back to stuff if I'm going to skip it. Where does America fall in all this?
Yeah.
So what do we do? So isolationism going into 1917 when we
remains.
first go in.
still remains.
Still remains. Okay, yeah. So we haven't started industrialization in terms of military yet.
Yep.
So, and with that, the little social progress we made hasn't been created. We might still be technically a world superpower, but only in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Because with our Golden Fleet, thanks to Teddy. So 20s and 30s, how the hell does we jump into this if we do?
Japan,
But Japan's not connected to anything.
the Philippines.
Okay, I can talk more.
That's the biggest fear of the United States to their overseas colonies, which is the Philippines.
Oh yeah, because we have UK to Australia, then Australia to us,
Yeah.
and then Philippines. Okay.
So the key to the United States remaining a industrialized military is how how the United States reacts to Japan interactions in China and the Pacific.
Fair, but one of the big things that connected Japan to Europe and Germany was a hatred for Russia. With them defeated, is Japan still connected to Germany? And if not, how does U.S. get into Europe? Because I get the Pacific
The
states.
U.S. wouldn't have gotten into Europe.
Okay, so
Without Germany in war with the UK and creating the tension with the U-boats and everything, the United States, I feel like, would have
Okay,
been
so with
involved.
that, let's go into 50s and 60s Europe. What does that look like with the U.S. never being present in that? What's the climate like now?
We would.
Go ahead.
I think we still would have tried to intervene at that point with just trying to be peacemakers of
Do you think
of all.
do you think the first nuke is dropped in Europe?
Whoa. I don't think nukes exist.
Yeah, they wouldn't have existed.
Oh, see, I think they would by 60s. I think they'd have nukes.
Well, I feel like they would exist,
It would
but
still be
they wouldn't
very
be.
early
They wouldn't be
development.
that. Oh well, I have.
There would have been accidents.
Kind of like
I don't know.
one up them. I feel like
Kennedy
it would
was
be
trigger
like
happy.
that. Oh.
There would have been accidents, and they would have realized that it's a terrible thing.
Because you don't have this.
taking
That's
it,
true.
you know?
That's very
You
true.
don't have this
actually.
giant- 'cause
All
then
of
you
these
have-
places would have had accidents.
Because you have Einstein being the voice of reason in Germany. Einstein left Germany because he wasn't being listened to. And he came to the United States, where he was being listened to. He still made bombs, but
When did he come to the United States?
in the 40s, like
Okay.
late 30s, early 40s.
He wouldn't have gone to the U.S. though if Germany won the war. He would have gone
He
somewhere
would have
else.
he would have stayed in Germany. he wouldn't there wouldn't be Nazis trying to create.
There
all
wouldn't
these
have been a
super
fall
weapons.
of Germany to create the Third Reich.
Nazi the Third Reich. It would
Yeah.
still be the German Empire.
Yeah.
You would still have Kaiser, probably not Kaiser Wilhelm II, probably
But
his successor.
yeah.
I would like to pose something for sake of discussion. Also, I might believe this. Germany and United Kingdom could have become allies.
No,
I
I don't
could.
think so.
no.
I could see that. Two powers, they see the interest in not becoming enemies and like maintain the status
They
quo.
both hate France.
And they want to control. They don't want the powder keg to explode. Essentially,
Well, remember the United Kingdom's policy. You have all the powers in Europe. United Kingdom is number one. Then you have 2, 3, and 4, 5. Whomever is number 2 is the enemy of the UK, and all the other 4 are allies of the UK.
That's true. And Germany's
Germany would be
navy
number
was
2.
becoming a huge rival to the UK.
It's true.
Because Wilhelm II was obsessed with
Oh, yeah.
the navy.
That's
He wanted to
that's
have
why-
he wanted to have the biggest navy in Europe, rivaling the one of the UK.
isn't that why he lost support amongst his government?
Yeah, because he was obsessed with the navy.
Yeah.
He wasn't supporting the army enough. He wanted to build this giant navy. So
just off of that, I think they would have
they would remain rivals.
allies, yeah.
I don't think
because
they
the
would have been
nationalism in
enemies.
both of those
but
places was just ecstatic.
It would have been like really, really close rivals.
Okay. So with all of that, with
Or like, give you a good example, it would be a relationship would be very close to what the relationship between Russia and the United States is right now. Between Germany and the
That's
United
a good
Kingdom.
point. Yeah.
no, okay, I'll pose two things. With the U.S. never going into Europe, is there any sort of UN system or body similar to that?
That
probably
wouldn't
would
come
have
till
a-
later. The idea wouldn't have sparked.
You might have a European Congress or a European system, but I don't think it would have been global. It would have been like led by Germany and the United Kingdom.
Okay. And now, how does Germany winning World War I affect the Vietnam and Korean conflicts?
They don't exist.
Japan has that whole area under lock.
Japan has that whole area.
What happened
Because
between
Europe would
Japan?
have stayed in Europe.
What happened between Japan and U.S.? U.S. doesn't go to war with them. I thought they did.
Well, it depends how they react.
Let's
to-
say the U.S. sees strategic interest in going to war against Japan in the Pacific only.
Well, then it becomes an affair between Japan and the United States.
And our
Doesn't
Navy's far
doesn't
better.
become an affair between the Soviet Union and the
Yeah.
United States. It becomes the American-Japanese war.
Well, so this is essentially because what Perry got to Japan in what 48. So this is essentially the Meiji Empire against the most industrialized navy in the world.
It-
The U.S. easily wins this conflict. And we don't have to
Maybe.
we don't go into Japan, but we get rid of their sphere of influence. Now, so all of
But
the,
with
hold on for a second.
Okay.
All of Indonesia
He's on
and
a rant.
Pacific is clear. Now, if we go into mainland Cambodia, Vietnam, I don't know.
Would we have though?
I don't.
That
I don't see
that
no,
whole
we don't.
area used to be Indochina, and Japan taking advantage of a weakened France, they take those colonies away from them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, without Germany losing World War II, Japan doesn't get the Marianas.
Yeah.
That was another threat to the United States.
The Marianas.
The Marianas
The islands.
There were German colonies that were given to Japan after the war.
Oh,
they are
okay.
kind of right by
Okay.
by New Guinea.
Yeah.
Are you down by Solomon?
Yeah, by the Solomon Islands. I thought that's where they were. Or
Somewhere in
look up
those-
the Carolines. The Carolines and the Marianas.
Somebody's upstairs, man.
Now, okay, so let's say, I mean, it's America. We're gonna establish someone in these countries, Vietnam, etc. Now, no matter what happens, I don't think Vietnam and Korea happen in the same sense. I don't think Korea becomes divided because Japan has control of Korea's.
Japan has control of Korea.
So there is
and most of China.
no North Korean conflict today.
No.
And there is Japan our big enemy today? 2017. Is it Japan against the U.S. powers?
Depends how that war ends.
Lucas, what?
No, go ahead.
It depends how that war ends. How it ends. How the United States wins. Or how we reach an agreement.
Because what do you think the time
Japan.
frame would be of a hypothetical?
So in
Japan
the
American conflict?
1940s, that's when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
In the 40 or 41.
41. Look it up.
What are you asking?
When did Japan attack Pearl Harbor?
No, 1941, December 7th. 8 to 11 a.m. No, 7:49.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, December 7, 1941. That's
What time was
that's
it?
what I need. I don't know.
Was it 8:11 or 8:41? I think it was 8:11. 7:59. Fuck.
Well, because on November 14th,
It was
that's
5 o'clock.
when
Everyone was
November
having a beer.
14th. That was when Japan rejected the ultimatum that the United States sent.
7:55.
You weren't even right on any of it.
FDR knew about Pearl Harbor the day before.
It still would have happened the same time
Yeah,
frame.
because the war in the Pacific was so independent from Europe. It would still have a Japanese-American war.
But I don't think that we would have had the nuclear technology that we did at that time because we wouldn't have the rivalry.
We would have to.
We would not have had that
Japan,
elite
have
information from the UK.
It would have to have a naval invasion of mainland Japan, or the main island of Japan. And
Would
that
Japan
would have
even
taken-
exist? If we
It would've-
invaded mainland Japan,
Well, I mean,
I don't think that
would it be
Well,
hilarious?
we would have to reach it because I don't see Japan. Like,
Just
I don't see the
coming to
United
us?
States taking Japan by force.
Yeah, no.
We don't. I think we hold them in check.
We reach
It's-
an agreement. You would have to either.
Be like what happened with Germany after World
We
War I.
impose basically the treaty
were-
Germany imposed on Russia when Russia surrendered. That's what we do to Japan.
Which is
We take away everything.
Yeah.
We essentially make them our bitch. Like we control their military. It's basically after World War II. What we did to Japan. It's that same thing essentially. We limit everything. We don't let them have a military.
do we still keep the emperor? Because the emperor still exists right now.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't have any political power, but it still exists.
I don't see why not.
do we put
and
a puppet head in?
I mean, we probably just put, I don't know, Kissinger's grandpa in or something.
Probably Kissinger would be like
But
at the
the-
age of being.
12 years old.
Do you think the U.S. would have seized land from Japan? And if they did,
Yeah,
do you think it
we
would
take-
still be a part of Japan or the U.S.?
Yeah, we take Okinawa. I can't remember Okinawa's native name. We take Okinawa. We take. Do we keep? God, I feel like we take Korea, but it's so much smarter to let Japan keep Korea so they're safe.
But the other thing is, without being allied with Russia,
Who?
the United States,
We wouldn't. Yeah.
we wouldn't need their help on taking Korea and China.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Now, where's Russia? Because U.S. and Russia then have no conflict
They
at all.
have no conflict with each other.
Wouldn't that be
They are
amazing?
completely neutral to each other.
So are they?
Russia
kind-
would have been
They're
coming out
still-
of the revolution as
There's
a
still
communist power.
there's still a feel like an anti-communist feel.
Yeah, but they
it
wanna-
isn't- there is no aggression against Russia.
and they want to hop on to the public or like the world stage, and what better way to do that than with the U.S., who is slowly moving the borders around in Southeast Asia?
would Russia or like the Soviet Union offer to ally with the United States against Japan?
They do, and
Oh.
no, 100% believe that.
Yeah.
and
As
in
a
that
revenge
sense,
of the Russo-Japanese War.
what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
I
point,
strongly
yeah.
believe that. And then where does U.S.'s communism policy fall?
Oh, Jesus.
That's another
What the
mess.
hell happens with Eastern Europe?
Well, maybe the whole Korean thing still happens.
Is U.S. communist now?
Okay.
The U.S. is
Maybe.
communist,
No,
but,
hold on.
but Korea
Maybe.
wouldn't happen. Vietnam would not.
because the
No,
United
nothing.
Those
because
two
the
for
United
sure would not
States
happen.
is so busy invading mainland Japan without nukes.
We peacefully invade
Russia,
Japan.
no, we would have
Peacefully.
to.
Everyone's wearing suits.
We would have to invade.
Okay.
They have the
No!
KGB suitcase guns where you just like press the handle on them.
何ですかすごいおっぱい私気持ちいいかわいいかわいいですね Yeah, that's exactly what it would have been like.
No, we invade the mainland,
I just think that's a stretch.
and then no, we would have
Stretch.
to.
Why do we have to?
That was the original plan
They
without
wouldn't have
dropping the
given up the
bombs.
same way.
The original plan would
Yeah.
Okay, had we not had nuclear bombs.
I know we invade. Yeah,
we
I know.
had a plan, and we had
Yes.
planned to lose 6 million soldiers.
Yes, I know, but I don't see that because at this point I really think it's,
Without the help of
Because you're
of the
saying-
without the
sorry.
help of the UK, we can't. There's no other way of defeating
No,
Japan by
that's the
force
thing.
than to invade Japan.
We don't defeat Japan. We treat it the same way Germany treats the UK. They come to like a
Japan
truce.
would not surrender.
But we would think, is it
that's
worth
true.
it? We would have already lost more men than we did.
We would. That
so
was
would it have been
original.
worth it
Originally,
to
our
go into
plan.
mainland?
That was originally our plan. Like without dropping.
But if it
nukes.
wasn't a world war, it was just these two countries, possibly Russia, being involved, would it have been worth it all?
Because Japan would have still won. Japan
You're
would
right.
not surrender.
You're right. I just wish we knew because Japan's emperors are predictable.
Yeah.
But in this world, we don't know who the U.S. presidents would have been, so we don't know what our national policy
We don't
would
know
be,
if
which
we don't-
sucks.
without going to World War II, we don't know if Roosevelt would have won 4 terms.
He wouldn't have because it's hard. What
what's
does the
his
US
name?
do?
Truman would have
Let's
been
say
our
it.
president
Okay.
instead of what's his name? Roosevelt would have had 2 terms. Then Truman would have been our president a lot earlier.
Let's say
8
U.S.
years
invades
earlier.
Japan. If we invade Japan, you can go off on your tangent, or is it no? Like your idea, or in my idea, like if we invade Japan, does our alliance with Russia continue, or is
Yeah.
Russia like, oh shit, Germany's on our west, we're on our right?
Russia would take care of the mainland possessions of Japan. So Russia would attack Manchuria and Korea and would help China. So then you have a stronger communist opposition in China, and then you have the whole Korean peninsula being communist.
Okay, so with that, and then I believe, or I'd imagine, so just like the Balkans, Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, those become the self-independent countries. What happens with China? Are all the countries vying for...
China becomes the same China as right now. Mao becomes super
power.
close with Stalin because he's communist and he was already fighting a revolution during World War One. So World War II, I'm sorry. So he becomes even stronger. The whole East China becomes East Asia becomes this super strong. What's happening?
He's putting his arm around Danny, making them
I'm
moves.
uncomfortable.
East Asia becomes this huge communist part of the world.
Same.
Can we take a time out quick? Can you just check to make sure it's still going? Just want to make sure there's battery and everything.
Could you get my Arizona from the fridge?
It's supposed to be long.
Press something.
Battery.
Yeah.
Is there no battery? That's fine, we have audio.
We have audio.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
That's okay. Well, I'll put
I
up...
mean, I have a battery plugged in too.
Then pop this one in, and the part that's black, I'll put up maps.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, we're gonna take a quick breaks, guys. 1 sec. Thanks for checking.
All good podcasts have.
I knew because it had like two
Want your
2/3.
Arizona?
Yeah.
So I just
Thanks.
didn't want to same thing there.
No, I fucking put it in the fridge.
You know what that?
You put his battery in the fridge?
You know what that means in English?
Arizona?
Yeah. Arizona.
Whoa.
Boggle.
Boggle.
Don't drop my battery.
I didn't.
You piece of Shiite.
That's a type of people.
Sunni.
What did I say?
It's always Sunni in Philadelphia.
Oh, Shiite.
Not yet.
What? No.
I should make a show called that.
It's always something.
It's about a group of four Arab guys that own a mosque.
What? You don't like water?
My buddies are drinking up by the river right now.
It's okay.
By the river.
I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with water.
Can you fucking move your chair back?
You know what?
My leg is your armrest.
Action.
My armrest is your leg.
Okay, we're back. Where did we leave off?
Japan.
The Soviet Union helping mainland.
Is it the
East Asia.
Soviet Union? It is still the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Still, the Soviet Union still follows the same path as in this timeline.
Well, where does Genghis Khan fall? Sorry.
Probably outside.
Around the outback.
He would like would.
What about the Mongols? They're the exception.
Tectonic Knights?
Tectonic Knights.
Tectonic Plates?
Oh boy.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do a quick recap of this, and then we figure out what's unaddressed so far.
The world after Germany wins World War I.
Yes. So
The that's pretty close.
that's our map.
Well, in your guys' situation, did you still call
Africa.
a world war?
Africa. Let's talk about Africa.
No, there's just still being
Wait,
raped and
what's the
pillaged
question?
for their minerals.
But
Yeah. Okay. That's actually
all
good.
of Germany's
Let's address this. Central Africa.
Germany takes a bunch of colonies away from France.
Yes.
Which colonies, I
the
don't
Congo.
know. But they probably take about half of their colonies. That was probably Germany's biggest want in invading France was probably taking a couple of provinces in the mainland, but their biggest thing is that they weren't taken seriously as an empire because they didn't have a lot of colonies.
Yeah.
So they probably would have wanted to take a bunch from France.
Just because of Africa's geography, essentially they have three regions. You have the north, central, and south, and now east and west kind of don't exist.
Okay.
Central Africa, you have the
Belgium.
colonizers.
Yeah.
South Africa, I think South Africa is the power, supported by U.S. I just feel like we do
UK.
both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Libya becomes a big power in the north.
Egypt.
You think Egypt? Why
Yes.
Egypt? Egypt is never
Because
big.
because Egypt becomes part of this newly formed Arab.
Oh, are they brought into that?
Yeah.
And they are this further influence. That's a good point.
So they get a lot of Western influence.
Okay.
They become the big power in North Africa.
they can build up their navy too. That's a good point.
Yeah. And they control the Suez Canal.
So
too.
how does South Africa, the colonizers in Central Africa, and Egypt exist 10 years from after the status quo? Where are these powers lying now? Are they contesting? Are they peacefully existing?
They're peacefully existing.
No, let's go to war.
You don't think that Egypt would have gained more power, would have grown?
Yeah, Egypt with support from the Middle East and the greater Middle East, Egypt
I-
would easily becoming the aggressor.
Yeah, you're right.
It could be twice the size.
I can see Egypt taking Sudan, and I can see Egypt taking.
Sudan.
Fuck you.
I can see Egypt taking most of Sudan, or all of it. I can see Egypt taking a big chunk of Libya, and I can see Egypt taking some part of the Middle East, the Levant.
Really? You think they would go in there?
It's that area had been historically controlled by Egypt before
true.
they were
Who's
colonized.
gonna stop them?
Damn it.
Togo.
No. Yeah, so Africa is just staying messed up.
Yeah, because
In a
it's
different
still,
way, though.
Because
What else?
you still keep the empires. Those empires are going to want to keep the colonial system. It takes maybe it's 2017 and there's still a bunch of beginning to decolonize.
Most important question. with Germany not losing the war, do they still try to dam the Strait of Gibraltar, drain the Mediterranean, and turn North Africa into a fertile?
Lebensraum.
Yes.
Mind
Is the Mediterranean drained if Germany loses or wins the war?
Yes.
I think it is. You imagine a drained Mediterranean? They'd find so much. They become
How are they going to drain it?
You know
They were gonna
They suck it all out with
dam
straws.
Gibraltar, and then I'm not sure the next part, but basically all of the Mediterranean Sea just floods into this.
You know there are some.
yeah, there's like insane plans for them to do it.
You know there are some Christians that believe that the floods created the Black Sea, and there used to be a big Christian empire in the Black Sea, and that was destroyed by the floods from the Mediterranean,
When
like during the Noah Bible time. Just some random.
Thanks.
Could happen.
The more you know.
South America,
Knowing is half the battle.
is Brazil the big
Okay.
power? Is South America to South America? Just leave it.
South America remains the same.
Hitler wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah, so the Germans aren't in South America. Cuba,
Argentina might be culturally a little bit more culturally different without all those German and Italian immigrants after World War II. So Argentina remains much more mestizo in Latin. But the American continent doesn't really change much.
What's up with Cuba? Russia's not over
Remains
here.
communist. Becomes communist.
Either way.
Because Russia's like the Soviet Union still exists.
And we don't care that Cuba is communist because
there are no nuclear weapons.
yeah. So, we're
So
just
we
like,
don't
that's-
try to assassinate.
No, and with that, we don't invade every Central American country.
No.
Wow, so the West is peaceful.
The West is super peaceful.
So and if Germany wins World War II, America's not the biggest dick in the 19th century.
America comes out
in
on top.
America is still remains like Germans still remain probably the biggest minority
United
group in
States.
the United
America
States.
becomes today's Canada, basically.
Wow.
And we would probably celebrate like
So, is
Saint
it
Gunther's
better
Day
if we
here.
lost or what?
Who's the patron saint of Germany or
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, I'm
or
pretty sure that's
Russia.
right.
Nicholas,
Nicholas.
probably.
probably celebrate Saint Nicholas Day here in the United
Nicholas?
States? Throw a big
Still
German
do it with my
party.
shoe out every day.
Oktoberfest.
Every day.
Eat some Wiener Schnitzel.
Okay.
It's sauerkraut.
You guys can keep talking if you want, but so far I'm thinking
You can keep
the Allies should have lost World War One.
They should have. Well,
You're still gonna have conflicts after, but smaller conflicts that result in more stabilized peace afterwards.
Well, yeah.
well, then you'd have a huge war between the Soviet Union
There wouldn't have been.
and Western Europe.
There wouldn't have been Nazis as the ultimate outcome.
Well,
for sure.
there wouldn't have been that for the Holocaust, which would have been a major
There would
plus.
still
But also,
be a
there wouldn't have been that science
huge-
pushed forward.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah. So that's a
Right
little bit
now,
down.
we would like
I mean, Nazis
2017.
were bad, but they were also kind of good.
Yeah, they pushed us to strive for better.
Right now, we'd probably be at this technological level of probably the 70s. Had not that happened.
We won't be able to
Damn
even
it!
do this.
What?
We should have been alive in the 70s.
Wait,
What lake is that? It's a big fucking lake.
Lake Victoria.
Wow.
you were alive in my heart in the 70s, Matt.
You didn't even have a heart. It starts after 18 days.
All right. So keeping
Yeah, you were
so,
on 16 days.
Okay, so looking at the map and like the new spheres of influences, is there more or less genocides carried on in the 19th century? Looking at where the countries
More.
line out who's next to them, which genocides
Where?
do you think are
In the
gay?
Middle East?
Anywhere in the world.
Middle
Did you say
East,
which genocide
In Russia.
gay?
in the Ottoman Empire.
That's what I heard.
Gains. Are there?
Oh.
No, the Armenian genocide happens. Shut up. The Armenian genocide still happens.
I'm
big
Armenian.
time. Bigly in the Ottoman
Bigly.
Empire.
How would the Soviet Union sphere of influence change? Would they have tried to take over everything?
I feel like they take Antarctica for no reason.
Like, we like snow!
I mean, who doesn't?
No, they still try to take Finland. They fail.
I think a new NATO forms, and they protect,
Oh, yeah,
and
for
they
sure.
and they stop genocides and
Well,
that
with
kind of-
all these smaller
Like I said,
revolutions
instead of
and wars going on, they would have probably thought of something similar to that to try to make peace in that area.
instead of a United Nations, we would probably have like a United European.
Like an EU.
like a European Union.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't be more. It wouldn't be like
We
the
should
European
come up
Union.
with that. That's a good idea.
Holy
make that.
fug!
And they could all use the same currency.
And it could run on Bitcoin.
Oh, dude. Or God, what's the Japanese version of Bitcoin?
Dogecoin,
It's like
Kawaii Cone.
Cone.
I listened to something about the other podcast. Apparently, the other day there's a transaction where it went down. I think it might have been a glitch in the system or something, but each like unit went down to like 0.5 of a cent per unit.
In the Matrix.
It was just literally for one transaction, and somebody got away like clean with it all. Yeah, no.
No, but instead of seeing like a United Nation, we would have like regional unions.
Yeah.
So you'd have the Trans-Arab Union, you have the European Union, you would have the South American Union, African Union.
And with the European Union united into the same goal, Greece gets to the Olympics every time.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, it all comes back.
Full circle. Full circle.
Full circle.
Another plug.
For the greater good.
Tuning into 2 weeks ago.
I don't know.
Well, maybe technology does change a lot because the United States would still want to decipher the Japanese code.
You still have all the smart Germans.
And without the Enigma from the UK, the United States would have to like pull
We would have
themselves with
never
their own-
respected
Yes.
the Navajo.
Because Benedict Cumberbatch doesn't solve it.
No,
Oh, you're right. Co-founders.
You know that guy didn't even fucking solve it.
The cucumber patch?
Like I listened to, or I heard about the real story about what happened for the people to crack the Enigma, and it's it's a huge mind fuck. But yeah, that guy isn't like the main drive behind it.
Well, he was still a pretty good computer guy.
Yeah, okay, but
Wait,
it was more.
wait, who?
It was more or less these people. I think it was.
Do that. Figure out the Enigma.
What's his name though? That's just what I'm trying to remember.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
No,
it's
the
not.
guy that discovered the Enigma was Alan Turing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, they had like teams on top of teams trying to decode it. Just within the government, and not just him. But
He was the one that
I mean,
created the.
what would have happened with Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, I
Would we have had calypso music? I don't know.
Okay, so so several people, I think including you maybe, said they didn't know where New Zealand was.
What's New Zealand?
What?
Well, people had told me they didn't know where New Zealand was, and I was in New Zealand.
It's above Africa.
And for the longest time until right now, I thought Trinidad and Tobago were by Indonesia. And
What?
And it turns out they're by Venezuela.
Wow, you didn't even know.
What is Venezuela?
I always thought they were over here
What is Venezuela?
What's over here?
by Indonesia, Papua New Guinea.
Really? You didn't know Trinidad and Tobago was in the
No,
Caribbean?
I thought they were way far away.
Is that the Caribbean though? That's like on the
Yeah.
outskirts. Like that's the
They're
border
South
of
America.
the Caribbean.
This is where Godzilla's from.
Yeah, that's
what?
Japan, right?
That's our Church of St. Guadalupe.
what did you say? That's where Godzilla's from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gojira?
Also, without the
That's the original name.
What happens to Kansas?
World War II, what?
What happens to Alaska?
We wouldn't have the Zoot rights, and I wouldn't have to write my essay.
Did you write your essay? You wrote your essay?
You wrote it?
Yeah.
Did you
Oh,
win?
In Kansas?
Were you tired?
Was it 200
Yeah.
words?
Did you die?
Yes, 200 words.
Did the Mexicans lose?
Yeah.
I think Alaska would
Mexicans
now
always
be part
lose.
of the Soviet Union,
It's okay.
and it would still be a thing.
Okay, so let's do this really quick. Yes or no? Should the Allies have lost World War I in the interest of the greater good?
Yes.
No. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes or
Yes.
Well,
No,
I mean,
we're going around the circle.
Matt, yes or no? Or maybe, but no maybes, just yes or no.
Well, the thing is that who's to say that it benefiting
You.
America
The greater good, not America.
is... But like you said, there's like all these other things that would have went wrong, and it's like, okay, well, what's to say what's better?
Let's redecide right now.
It's not like the fate of the world depends on it.
Also, no space race.
But then we never get to the moon.
No, there would have been a
yes,
space
no.
race because the Soviet Union still exists.
There would have been.
Can you imagine the Soviets and the U.S. teamed up to get to the moon? We would have been
Okay,
to Mars
there
like
would,
10 years ago.
movie Miracle would have never happened.
Yeah,
okay?
what if?
Yes or no?
Oh,
You know,
Okay.
no.
No. Gerardo, yes or no?
Yes.
Danny?
Wait, yes or no as to what?
Should the Allies have lost World War I in the interest of the greater good?
Oh, I said yes.
You saying yes?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 yeses.
No.
Really?
I like that the advances that science and
That's true.
research had from all of the rivalries with the Nazis and
Who's to say that
U.S.
we
and
wouldn't
Russia.
be like?
It's
Well,
about
who's
people
to
by
say?
now.
Who's to
That's
say
true.
a lot of things? You can.
Because-
We're dealing with
It's all
these
up to
kinds of.
speculation, but I think that
I agree with Danny.
a lot
on
of
that.
crap happened, and I like that there would have been more peace in the West. But I also like the advances that came out of that.
I believe more people have been saved through the medical advancements because of World War II. But I think peace in the world, more peace is more important. So I'm saying yes, we should have lost.
I mean, it doesn't matter because
respect
it's
that.
3-1, but I'd say no as well because I believe that I'm not saying that nowadays is perfect, but I think we've made really good progress in the past even 80 years. I'd say it's really good.
Cool.
Okay, just over an hour.
Well, thank you for joining us on this heated
You're
debate.
welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Also,
Go to the bathroom.
Peppa the Frog remains a
Hate symbol.
nice,
Yeah.
good meme without Nazis ruining it.
I still think it
it's
is.
not. Yeah. People who made that a hate symbol. Do you also see the other things that are on the International Hate Symbol website? It's a fucking joke.
Like
you
the peace
can't just
symbol.
make anything a hate symbol.
We're gonna go
You
barbecue.
can't make
Take
a
it easy.
meme a
Love
hate
you.
symbol. That is silly.
No, actually.
What other things are on there?
It's still just
It's
a meme.
ridiculous.
Me?
No, okay.
Is vaping a hate symbol?
Take any number. Think of number 1 through a million. It's on the hate symbol website.
Really?
I shit you not.
Is this on the hate symbol list?
Pull it up. Pull up the hate symbol.
My friends and I, we went. You know Mikey Jensen? Okay, I think
What's
you
he
might
look
know.
like?
He was kind of nerdy guy. Zach Reiswig. I don't know if you
Mike?
No. Okay. Well, regardless, we went through the hate symbol website, and we just laughed because like so many numbers are just hate symbols.
Yeah.
You just take like any number, and if it has any historical context, they put it as a hate
Is
symbol.
6 million a hate symbol?
If you think about it, I mean, the Jews might not be exactly happy with that number.
Eric, what do you think? How'd it go?
Good.
I think we had a lot of
What
fun.
are your
I think some
thoughts?
good,
I was listening only halfway, so I can't get really good input.
What was your sense? What do you think about? What do you want to chirp in? Do you think World War?
We're lost, you think?